Can you see the steam? I don't know. It's cold in here. It's winter. Hi, I'm Taylor of the Sheepish Goat. You're watching the channel. This is not how I thought I would come back to make a video, and I don't entirely know what I'm going to say because I have several topics on mind that I've thought about recently, and I kind of just felt like talking, even though I feel insecure talking because it's been so long. How's it going, everybody? It's nice to see you. Yeah. I've been wanting to come back and make a video for quite a long time, but I knew the exact video that I wanted to make. I kind of figured out what it would be, and then hemmed and hawed about it as per usual with my perfectionism, and didn't get around to actually doing it. So, alas, here we are. It is the quandary of intentionality versus reality. And in reality, I just kind of wanted to sit down and make a video. Instead of just trying to do the perfect thing, let's just do the thing that feels right. So, hope you're doing good. I'm doing okay. The last few weeks, month and a half have been very interesting. I'm trying to think of how I even start. I think it's good to start from the standpoint of I'm a nervous and anxious person. I deal with depression and anxiety and all kinds of things. And I've been in therapy for a year, almost exactly. I started in November of 2024, and it's November of 2025. So how about that? Kudos to me. Happy birthday. Happy therapy birthday. That's a thing, right? Let's all celebrate together with our feels. The reason I'm bringing up going to therapy is because before I went to therapy, I struggled a lot. I felt entirely that I had to do things by myself. I felt insecure asking for help. I felt an overwhelm with the emotions in my life. I didn't know how to process them. And I found existing in the world difficult because I didn't feel like I was actually doing it. Yeah. As we fast forward through that, and I made videos on my progress and going to therapy and different thoughts, but I found a lot of solace. I found a lot of peace, contentment, even happiness through my routines, through talking with my therapist V, through existing and finding a life that was mine and worthy of living, truthfully. Now, I have come a long way since then and have been doing well. My general routines consist of hiking. I've been doing that for months and months and months at this point, and I almost go every single weekend or had been doing so. I go for walks, gratitude journal, meditating, the whole 9 yards. I've talked about it. The point is that intentionality versus reality, right? You can plan for things to go a certain way, and even in some instances, I found in the last year that even planning for things is a little idiotic. Truthfully, almost never goes the way in which you intend for it to go. And I mean on a large scale, not even like a small scale, like a trip or something, for example. But it usually doesn't go the way it's thought or hoped to go. It'll just go. And if you have the right intentions, perhaps it'll work out for you. It'll go in a direction that might lead you to the right thing. But it doesn't usually go as you think it will. So yeah, I don't really want to talk about it, which is why I'm delaying getting to the point, because I don't know if it's where I should go. But we will do it anyway. So maybe 6 weeks or so ago, I was at home, and I think my mom tried to call me. I was like, that's weird. For context, my mom will usually call me only when it's important, like urgent. Generally, she'll ask me through a text if I want to talk, and that's just based on our own mutual understanding if I don't always want to talk on the phone. So she'll text me and ask how I'm doing. And I knew something was wrong. And we came to find out that my grandpa had a massive stroke. He was in the hospital, and we were under the assumption that he was going to pass that same day. Talked to him, said goodbyes, and he ended up surviving. But through his survival, things have been very muddled and very confusing. He's paralyzed on half of his body. Communication was basically non-existent, and there's progress, but in many ways, he's not himself and won't be. And there's a lot of uncertainty in that. And it's very up in the air, and has been for quite a while at this point, which leads to a lot of very confusing and muddling feelings. I'm going to talk more about that probably in a separate video, because I think there's a lot there, but that's not the point of this video. Because 2 weeks later, I was at work and was doing my job, walking around. I walked through a metal cage, hit the back of my hand, probably a nerve. Pain swelled very significantly, and through that process, I passed out. First time I've passed out in my life, and luckily for me, I fell onto a metal crossbeam of some pallet racking, a pile that was laying on the floor. The end support that bolts into the upright braces is the plate that struck the very center of the back of my head. That cut my head, resulting in a gash where I was bleeding, of course. Ended up getting 4 staples, later diagnosed with a concussion. And that has been a lot. If you've never had a concussion, post-concussion syndrome, I think you can look it up. There's a lot of varying side effects, and it's very confusing. I've had ups and I've had downs, and I haven't worked for about a month at this point. And technically, I'm not supposed to go back right now until after December. But because of this, I can't drive. I feel like I'm going to pass out. And I get dizzy. When my symptoms are really bad, which they are variable, and in the moment I'm in a good state, which is why I'm talking and wanting to do this, because I haven't been able to do anything for a month. And it's very hard. But when my symptoms were bad, and maybe again, we'll see what happens, because they were good and then bad again previously. When they're bad, I can't walk. I can't obviously drive. I get numbness that shoots from the back of my head, radiates through the entirety of my body. I develop shortness of breath, where I couldn't breathe. With the numbness in my chest means that I couldn't feel myself breathe either. I also developed an indigestion, which bad stomach biome is apparently a side effect of concussions as well. So I have a lot of buildup where gas is bubbling in my throat. So if you combine shortness of breath, the indigestion, the numbness within my chest, and the anxiety I feel with everything happening, it's a pretty terrifying feeling when you feel like you can't get any air into your body. Not to mention you try to walk and move and you can't. You feel like you're going to pass out, so you have to go to your knees, to the floor. Your body shakes. It's very difficult. You couldn't look at screens for a while or watch anything because fast movement upset my eyes and made me feel extremely dizzy. Symptoms are variable that come on fast and randomly. And it's really not fun. If you've never had a concussion, I wouldn't recommend it. Don't consider getting one just for the lulz or just to have time off of work. I guarantee you I would much rather be working right now than be at home. And even as I'm sitting here through thought and looking around with lights shining around me, I can feel myself feeling slightly dizzy. That's fun. That's very fun. Yeah. To the point of all of this, I brought up therapy and I brought up my routines because when all of this happened, I lost all of my routines. And I think that's truthfully the point of the video here of intentionality versus reality, right? Is I had crafted a life for myself in which I found stability. I crafted a life for myself that I found happiness and ease within. And even though I've talked about before, I resent the idea of routines, of feeling like I have to stick to something because when I don't, I feel like I break instead of me just breaking the routine. I resent it, but I find the value in it. I see the truth within it, and I see where it benefits me in my life. And so I've crafted a life in which I can find value. But when the world goes to shit, when you go hiking every weekend, all of a sudden you can't because you need to drive to Wisconsin to see your grandpa who's in the hospital. Or you can't because you physically can't drive. You can't even walk. It gets very difficult. It's hard to find peace and solace in a moment when every moment feels the same and every moment feels overwhelmed by everything happening around you. You know, my gratitude journal, my meditation are humongous for me, but in a moment where it feels like everything's swirling, whether that's the dizziness or the emotions inside, it can be hard to stop and feel like you have anything to be grateful for. And it can be hard and think of the things that were beautiful in that day when every day feels the same and every day is clouded by uncertainty and emotions that you are or aren't processing. You know, I had a therapy session, which to the point, even therapy, I suppose I should touch on first, right? Like I go weekly, and not being able to be in person for my sessions has been tremendously difficult. I had many recently in which I've had to be remote. And to think that those would anyway be the same of being remote versus being in person, I can guarantee you it's not. It's vastly different between the two. So even finding stability within the place in which I feel safe and truly myself is stripped away to some extent, right? It's where is the stability when the world around you is telling you that you don't get to be stable right now? And that's extremely hard. And that's the truth of what I've been dealing with outside of my concussion and not being able to work or do anything that feels like normalcy and stuff happening with my grandpa. The world is difficult right now. But what I've talked about, I think the most with my therapist and with anybody in my life that I've talked to about it is the gratitude in which I feel. I don't feel it all the time, and I have to work to feel it. But to know that things aren't worse than what they are is amazing. By all accounts, my grandpa was supposed to die. We talked to him and had our final conversation with him. By all accounts, when I fell, I could have injured myself far worse. I could have fell on my face. I could have impaled myself. I could have had an extremely severe concussion where I couldn't do anything and felt vertigo and nausea constantly. Mine is right in the middle as far as severity goes. There's so many ways in which things could be worse, and they're not. Finding the beauty in life when life is anything but beautiful is very hard. And it's funny because, as I said, I've been in therapy for a year. And if I look at my life in this moment in the last couple weeks versus the truth of my life when I started going to therapy, it's vastly harder right now. In so many ways, it's vastly harder right now. And now, was me going to therapy a consequence of the exact moment in which I started going? No. It was a delayed process from years before, from a life before. But if I was experiencing this right now without ever having gone, without ever focusing on myself and finding who I am and finding out what my life actually looks like, I can't imagine how I would be feeling. I can't imagine how I would be doing. It scares me to think of where I would be had I never put effort into me. So when I tell you that I feel grateful, I truly mean that I feel grateful for myself, right? I'm so happy that I have the sense of self and the drive and the intentionality behind my actions in my life. Even if I don't have it planned out, right? And even if I can't do it in every moment, when I get the chance to live my life in the way in which I have designed it to be for me, I'm so happy. This week, I got to go for a walk 3 times in a row. Completed my walk. I feel good today, right? I've been in a car recently and didn't feel like I was going to pass out. Things with my grandpa are improving, and it's still confusing and I don't even know what it means. But they're not as bad as they said they were going to be at first. The reality of life is that it's always hard. It always is difficult. But the other reality of life is that it's also always incredibly beautiful. And there's always something you can be thankful for in every moment, even when it's hard. I've said that I write in my gratitude journal, right? And sometimes that's hard for me when the world feels chaotic and overwhelming. But I was talking to V, my therapist, the other day, and I said, I think even if I can't do it every single day right now, I've realized that I like to do it on the days that are the hardest. Because even though it's hard to find 5 things in a day that you're happy for, sometimes, that tethers me to my life. And maybe the next couple days I can't write in my journal, or I can't meditate. It gives me a point to come back from. It gives me a point of saying, I'm still here. Maybe in this moment I can't be all of me. I can't give only to myself. And I mean like that in like a emotional, spiritual way, not like in a selfish and narcissistic sort of thought. But I'm still here. And I will get back to me as soon as I can. I've been in the ER 3 times in 3 weeks, and not visiting. I mean, I've been a patient. I'm in concussion therapy twice a week. I have my normal counseling. I've had follow-ups from ER visits. I've had follow-ups from general practitioners about whether I'm good to go to work or stay home. It feels like a vast majority of my life is dedicated to making sure I'm okay, in trusting myself, high quote. Through all of this, it's been difficult to trust myself. Trust that I'm doing the right thing, that I understand my body, that I'm not making up my symptoms. Finding the truth inside is very challenging because I struggle with self-doubt and insecurity, and I feel like I should just do things instead of being at home and doing nothing, even though I physically can't do anything besides that. There's still guilt. But learning to know that what I feel matters, that what I've been through has got me here, and I mean that in a positive light, that I'm capable of existing as a human through the hard times. It makes me feel happy. So, I'm not sure if this video was coherent or valuable or even what I kind of thought it would be, because I don't really know what I thought it would be. But I think at the end of the day, even if I intended to live my life perfectly and to the letter, it'd never happen. And the reality is that I'm just doing what I can when I can. Whether that's making a video or going for a walk. Sometimes that's all you can do. So keep doing what you can do. Every day. Whether that's focusing on yourself or going to therapy or taking care of somebody who needs you. Live the life that you know you can in the moment that you can. And if you can do more, you will. If your body tells you that's not possible right now, then you can sit on your couch and cry. I do. I think the last thing that I want to say, I was talking to my therapist, V, and we were talking about the idea of being in therapy in a year and kind of like focusing on where I was then versus where I'm at now, and maybe the variance or the difference or how I feel about it. And I said, I've always been an emotional person. I've always seen the faults. I've had a lot of awareness. But in the past, it was so critical and degrading, and it was what I wasn't doing, right? It wasn't seeing the ways in which I could do better in a positive way to show up for myself. There wasn't improvement in that. It was just critique. It was a resistance to not being bad or failing in my mind, and everything felt like failure. But I think the biggest thing, truly probably the biggest thing for me in the last year, has just been able to process my emotions correctly. Processing your emotions is a strange thing because a lot of people don't want to feel their emotions. They run from them. They detach from their emotions, right? They don't. Processing doesn't even exist in their brain. But I want to talk about really fast how I process, because it's a skill that I've learned in the last year that lets me deal with things but not live in them, right? Emotions are meant to be felt. When we bury them, they're like little zombies under the dirt. They dig their way up. And when they come back, they're all the more terrifying and threatening to your life. But I think most people don't process them correctly. And it's not to say I'm doing it right, but I found it to be extremely helpful. Because what I've started doing is I've started sitting and just letting them happen. I always felt my emotions. I always knew them, right? Like, I knew I was upset, but I didn't talk about it. Maybe in a moment I was angry or sad, but then I just tried to move on past them. Now what I do is that I feel it swell within my body. It feels like a rucksack that you're carrying on your back, right? Like you're a little hobo. And I feel that I need to cry. So I meditate. I sit down on my couch. I have music playing. And I close my eyes. And I let myself just feel all of the emotion that's in my body. Maybe it's 5 minutes, maybe it's 10 minutes. Doesn't matter. But I just let myself think through those feelings. And I let all the tears out. I let myself cry and process it. I did it the night that I thought my grandpa was passing. The night that I got a concussion, I didn't get to. But the very first time I had alone time again, I went, sat on my couch, and cried. And I let all the fear and all the anxiety and all the worry that dwells and fills within my body, I let it move through me. And what it means is that even though I'm struggling in a moment, I'm not carrying around all this past emotion. I'm just processing what exists and I'm releasing it. So it doesn't hold me hostage and it doesn't keep me victim to the past. I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned this year. And I think if I wouldn't do that, if I would have never done that, if I would have never grown and focused on me, then it would have never happened. You know, it's funny too, because I learned it through secondary consequence. I didn't mean to do it. I was experiencing something that felt emotionally stimulating and overwhelming. And once I had a moment to sit, I just started crying by myself. And it was a lot. It was overwhelming. And as soon as I was done, I had the awareness that I felt better. I was like, crazy how just sitting with feelings and letting them go makes you feel better. So the next time I felt that way, I sat and did the same thing. And I felt better. It was never something I tried to learn. It was something that just happened. I guess just like life. I'm happy to be back. If it's not the way in which I intended, and if I don't make another video for another year, I'm happy to be here right now today. And I hope you are too. So until next time, everybody. See you then. Love you.